Greetings from the Doop Movie Podcast.
Ha!
My name is Keith.
My name is Brian.
And today we're going to be talking about Lilo and Stitch.
This is the first time we've done a Disney movie on the Doop Movie Podcast. We've had movies that have been, partially funded by Disney. This is the first, Disney animated feature that we've done on the show. And it's one I hadn't seen before.
I know, and that really got me by surprise, but I don't know why. I mean, thinking about it now, I don't know why. I would assume that, Brian would have seen Lilo and Stitch. I mean,
it was just the one I missed, right? I've also never seen Treasure Planet.
It's not really the one you missed if you immediately list another movie that came out.
But wasn't Treasure Planet DreamWorks?
No, Treasure Planet was also Disney.
Oh, I thought it was DreamWorks this whole time. Oh, okay. Shows how much I know.
It's okay.
But this movie came out in 2002?
Yeah, 2002. It released in June of 2002. It had an $80 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
It came back with $273 million in the box office, which this is their first...
It barely scraped by.
This is their first sort of success because Treasure Planet, Atlantis, so on and so forth, a lot of films after Tarzan didn't really do so hot. After the tail end of the Renaissance era, they're trying to get back in their footholds pretty much before they just ended up buying Pixar and kind of copying them.
Yeah.
But most of that was split. It made 145 in the U.S. and then 127 internationally.
Nice.
So it was a nice fair split. Definitely, appealing to the worldwide market.
Yeah.
In its first week, it was only in second place. Minority Report came out. That sci-fi movie, Tom Cruise, never seen it.
That's something to brag about, though, is we beat a Disney animated feature in its first week.
Well, yeah, but it's okay, there's a little asterisk note I have for it, because it was less than $500,000, that Minority Report earned over this, but Lilo and Stitch sold more tickets, and a lot of those tickets are for children's seats, and children's seats are less expensive. That's, who's to say which one was really supposed to be up top if all of the children's tickets were brought up to adult prices.
And I'm sure a lot of the kids came to matinee shows, which are cheaper too.
I'm sure. Yeah, matinee is cheaper on top of that as well.
Because I learned recently, one of my side projects that I'm trying to get off the ground but has not even gotten past the planning stages is I would like to open a drive-in theater.
Yeah.
And I was doing some research and I learned that when you run a theater, and you get a first-run film, like a Disney animated feature or like a Marvel movie, you don't pay for the print. You don't pay for the rights. You sign a contract that says anywhere from 50 to 70% of your box office take goes to the company.
Yeah.
So,
which they definitely take advantage of during the pandemic. More than 60% of something goes to the company, and then, with Disney Plus now, there's an extra premiere pricing on top of movies that release in theaters around the same time.
As of this recording, HBO Max doesn't do that, and I'm really glad they don't.
I am glad they don't, because I watched Suicide Squad, and I'm very happy about that. But we're getting in the reeds again.
Oh my god, we are 3 or 4 minutes in, and we are already in the weeds and talking about movies that aren't Lilo and Stitch.
That's right.
Not to say that Lilo and Stitch wasn't interesting.
No, I love this movie.
Tease of eventual opinion, this is in my top 3 Disney movies.
No.
Now. And it sort of hit me, I was 19 when this movie came out, right? I was just about to turn 20. I had just graduated high school. I was starting college. I was working. A Disney animated movie about, a 7-year-old did not hit me as must-see viewing.
Right.
And then it was just one I never got around to seeing.
Yeah. Whereas, a 9-year-old who's about to turn 10, coming up pretty soon, see this cute little blue creature, causing chaos and destruction and so on and so forth, that kind of appealed to me, and then of course I, watched the movie and I understood, I was 9 or 10, watching it over and over again. I watched this movie initially on this DVD copy that we have.
Okay.
And it's been watched over, several times.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain scenes that skips in the movie just because there are certain scenes that are shown more than others. It definitely a
well-worn copy of the movie.
Well-worn DVD copy of the film.
Also at this time, I was working in Hollywood Video, which, ask your parents, kids. Yeah. People used to rent movies on DVD from a whole store that had nothing but movies, and sometimes on VHS.
Which is like a big old box version of a DVD.
Yeah, it's like a music cassette, but for a movie.
Yes.
Yes. Ask your parents, kids.
Yes. Hopefully we have a crowd that knows what a VHS is.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was working at a video store at the time and had been for about a year, and so I was an insufferable movie snob at this time. It's a Disney movie. I don't watch that tripe. Oh my God.
Right.
Like, I was a hipster before there were hipsters.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm past that phase now.
Yeah. It's, Lilo and Stitch was written and directed by Chris Saunders and Dean Dubois. This is Chris Saunders' first directorial debut. He's been like a writer, a storyboard artist for like years and years upon years. But when time has come to get Disney some money, he has his own little project, and I was like, well, why don't we try this? And then they're like, all right, go for it. Chris Saunders also, that both of them left, and they ended up doing How to Train Your Dragon for DreamWorks.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful set of movies.
Yeah?
They did that. Chris Saunders did The Croods with Dirk D'Amico, which, it was
actually
cute.
Haven't seen that yet.
It's a cute movie. It has a sequel that came out within recent times, in the after times. And,
yeah, ever since the thing that shall not be mentioned started.
I mentioned it, but... And Chris Saunders also directed The Call of the Wild, which is a cute little adaptation of a book that's very popular.
Wait, the live action one?
Yeah.
The one with
yep,
Harrison Ford and the dog?
That's the one.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, Lilo and Stitch, I had never seen it before. I have seen, going into this movie, I was not totally blind. I had seen some like video essays that mentioned it. Specifically, there's a Lindsay Ellis essay about Pocahontas that mentions Lilo and Stitch extensively. So I knew of a couple of scenes going in, like the social worker coming to take the kid away, and then the Nani sings Aloha Oi to her, and that hits hard when you know the cultural history of the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. Yeah. We'll get there when we get into the plot.
Yeah.
But so mostly I came in blind. I knew a couple things, but mostly I came in blind, and I had a ton of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I want to make sure. I'm trying to pick out the next thing I want to mention, but I guess everything here is definitely going to be something I'll, come up to whenever you go through the plot.
Well, you have the voice actors, right?
Yeah, I have them, but I'll mention them as we come along.
So the movie opens in an alien courtroom. Right? There's all kinds of like fantastical creatures and stuff.
The Galactic Federation.
Yeah. And there is a alien doctor who is on trial for illegal genetic experimentation.
Yeah, Dr. Jumba.
Yeah, Jumba?
Yeah.
Okay. I could not remember his name.
Yeah, Dr. Jumba, voiced by David Ogden Stiers. In live action form, he was Major Winchester III off of MASH. I'm sure you recognize that. He was the District Attorney Peston from Perry Mason.
Okay.
But he has also voiced over Cogsworth Radcliffe from Pocahontas, Kamaji from Spirited Away, and Nikki Flipper from Hoodwinked.
Nice.
Yeah.
So they bring up these charges, illegal genetic experimentation, and he's like, that would be, and he's like, all my work is theoretical. And they're like, well, we think you've created something. And he goes, I would never do that. And then like a pod opens and there's Stitch more than once.
Yeah.
So, and then we see the titular Stitch, who is this blue cat koala thing with 4 arms and teeth and sharp claws and antennas, and it's an alien.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're all aliens.
Yeah, but he's little and cute.
Yeah.
He looks like a little evil teddy bear.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is. Voiced by the director, Chris Saunders.
Nice. Yeah, Stitch doesn't have a lot of lines in this movie, but his lines are meaningful when they happen.
Yeah.
So he gets convicted, And they can't just dispose of Stitch because he's, he says something in an alien language that is so offensive to them that it does two things. One, it proves that he's sentient because he knows how to insult them.
Yeah.
But two, it gets them to exile him to a deserted asteroid for all of eternity.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And on the way there, Stitch breaks out of his containment cell by like spitting, because the guns are locked onto his DNA.
Yeah, which is great. Like, I love, like, whenever I was watching this, 9-10-year-old me, sees this, like, little dinosaur-looking creature, like, sticks him with this little needle, and it gets some of the juice out of his system. Like, his blood is green, which is an odd detail in and of itself. But he puts it, like, it's like a fast-tracked, recognizing system, like weaponizing system. It was like, this person's blood DNA, that's what I'm going to be shooting at next,
Yeah, like, so he's like
putting that together in my head was,
cool.
Yeah.
The guns are genetically locked on Stitch. Yeah. So he actually chews a bit of his own tongue and starts spitting blood across the room, so the guns will start shooting around the room.
Well, that's just mucus.
Well, it's green like his blood, and he was making like chewing motions with his head. I took it as he was like chewing a part of his tongue to get some blood going.
No,
and I was kind of shocked about it.
No, he's it's like, it's mucus. He did that sort of noise with his nose.
Oh. Well, either way,
he's just spitting on him.
Either way, it works, and he manages to use that to redirect the guns to bust him out of this.
This is a Disney movie. You really think he's chewing on his tongue?
this Disney movie gets into some dark shit.
I mean, it can be violent, but
not even violence. This movie gets into some dark stuff, like the plight of native cultures and colonialism. Dark.
Well, I mean, a song is different. Like a 10-year-old me did not pick up that from the song.
True. Yeah, I can see that.
Anyway,
they're about to land, and I made a note here. This is way more Star Wars than Moana. Like, I was going in expecting, the beta version of Moana.
Yeah.
But this is very much its own story.
Yeah.
So he manages to escape the ship in like a little cruiser vessel, and he crash lands on Earth, and the Galactic Federation calls it Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And which, finally, I get that reference now. There's one of my favorite things on YouTube is Team 4 Star's Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Okay.
And Frieza and his dad constantly refer to Earth as Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where that comes from now. Because their version of that joke was the first time I'd ever heard that joke.
Yeah.
So anyway, he crash lands on Earth, and they send the alien doctor who created Stitch and this like bureaucrat.
Pleakley is his name. He's voiced by Kevin McDonald. He's part of like this Canadian improv group, Kids in the Hall.
Yeah.
Several of those actors.
That's where Jim Carrey came from.
Done stuff after the fact. He has also voiced over, he played Dr. Medulla in Sky High.
Okay.
And he also voiced over the almighty Tallest Purple in Invader Zim.
Nice.
So this isn't his first time being an alien.
Nice. But he they send, the Federation sends these two to Earth to recover Experiment 626, which is what, because Stitch hasn't been given a name yet.
Yeah.
And then we meet our human family, Nani and Lilo. Mm-hmm. Nani and Lilo are sisters, whose we find out later their parents have died in a car accident.
Yeah.
Right. So Nani is
during the rain, which is
in the rain.
Yeah, which is a good thing. Not really good thing. A relevant thing, because Lilo always gets like this peanut butter sandwich for Pudge.
Mm-hmm.
And
like, who's Pudge? Well, anyway, the opening scene is Lilo escaping from the ocean, running into a dance recital rehearsal, and then she gets on stage and she does the dance with them, but she's dripping wet, and so everybody falls over.
Yeah.
Right? And all the kids are mean and laughing at her.
Lilo, why are you so wet?
Yeah, and at one point, one kid says something awful, and Lilo just like goes ape shit.
Yeah.
Starts beating the living crap out of this kid. Yeah. And I wrote, damn, full-on child violence in a Disney movie.
Yeah. Like an actual child would react that way. She's being called weird, So she's voiced over by DeVay Chase.
Okay.
2002 is DeVay Chase's year. She also voiced over Chihiro in Spirited Away.
Yes.
And she also played Samara Morgan in The Ring.
Oh, so that was Lilo coming out of those movies.
Yes. Yeah,
coming out of the
TV. Yes, that's her.
So anyway, Lilo is obviously very depressed because they're like, "Why are you wet?" And she's like, "I had to feed a peanut butter sandwich to the fish's name,
Pudge." Yeah.
Pudge, because Pudge controls the weather.
Yeah.
And that didn't hit me that it was about her parents until you just said that, and
yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
A peanut butter belly, and then and she was talking about this whole story, talking about it's like, oh, but my sister Nani, the only thing we don't have peanut butter at the house, we have tuna. Do you know what tuna is?
Yeah.
like trying to enforce her into cannibalism is like, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
So I had to go to the store, get some peanut butter, go in the ocean, because all we had is stinking tuna.
Yeah. But anyway, the kids get in a fight, and Lilo is not exactly kicked out of practice, but she's removed from the practice and made to wait on the porch for Nani to come pick her up.
Yeah.
And Lilo decides that she's going to follow the kids home and apologize and try to play with them because she really wants friends.
Yeah.
That's her whole thing.
Yeah.
And they're cruel, as kids are.
Yeah.
And because they are so mean to her, she runs home and locks herself in the house and puts nails up to stop the door from opening.
Yeah.
So she can lay there, obviously suffering from severe depression, listening to Elvis records, while Nani tries to break in. And this is when Mr. Bubbles shows up. Mm-hmm. He is the social worker who, by his own admission, I'm the man they call in when things are already going wrong.
And things have indeed gone wrong.
Yeah.
Cobra Bubbles is voiced over by Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
You might have recognized that just based on the voice quality. For people who don't know, Ving Rhames was Marcellus Wallace from Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And he was Luther in the Mission Impossible series.
Mm-hmm.
Collaborator.
Wasn't he also Kingpin in the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie?
I think he was, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that was, yeah. And Nani is being performed by Tia Curry.
Okay.
She was Cassandra Wong in the Wayne's World movies.
Okay.
Like a leader of a rock band. I have slim memories of Wayne's World. I want to rewatch that someday.
Oh, yeah.
She was also Juno Skinner in True Lies. But she is also a 2-time Grammy winner for her Hawaiian music.
Nice. And I did like that the opening music for the movie after the alien trial scene was a native Hawaiian song.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful rendition of this. I don't know what it means. I originally thought it was the name of the language was Tokelau, but I don't think that's Hawaiian. I think that's other Pacific Island nations. But
probably.
And I don't want to say for certain what it is because I don't know what it is.
Right.
So I'm not going to
let's not speak
plant
out
a flag. Yeah. So Mr. Bubbles, and I wrote this in my notes, he's a G-man, right?
Yeah.
The problem is it's a classic misunderstanding, right? A classic sitcom misunderstanding. He walks up at the worst possible time.
Right.
And Nani is, yelling at Lilo to open the door, has to break into her own house to let him in.
Yeah.
And Lilo is angry and upset and tries to tell Bubbles what Nani wants her to say. I'm well cared for, and she disciplines me when I need it.
Yeah.
But she goes way too detailed in the disciplining because Nani is doing sign language behind him.
Yeah, and she brings up her fist at some point and was like, "Yes, good job." And then
Nani's like, and then she hits me with Lilo's like, and then she hits me with a brick.
In a pillowcase, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just misinterpreting, but she's a young child.
Bubbles isn't dumb.
No.
He's not taken in by the hits me with a brick thing.
Right.
But he does say to Nani that, this did not go well.
Yeah.
And Lilo is obviously a bit special needs. She's very depressed. She's very sad.
Yeah.
She needs friends, and she needs to find her family again.
Yeah.
Because, her mom and dad were both killed. And
Nani, in a traffic accident.
Yeah. Nani is doing her best to be a good mom, but she's also an older sister.
Right. It's a weird, complex sort of relationship to try to dive into.
Having a younger sister, I know how annoying it is to have a younger sibling, especially a sister.
Right.
And if I had to raise my sister, I would have struggled as much, if not more, than Nani is doing now.
Yeah.
Right? I do like that, and we'll find this out later, that Nani is not sexualized.
Yeah.
She's got like muscular legs.
Yeah.
But she's not.
That's a thing too with the art style too. Like there's a lot of like rounder textures towards the bottom of things. Like even some of the characters, even the skinny alien has like at least thicker legs, the 3 legs that he walks on.
Yeah, but none of this movie is like a forced romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Like there's one character who is obviously interested in Nani, but she makes it clear near the beginning that that's not a thing that I have time for. I don't have the spoons for that.
Right.
She doesn't say that, but that's basically the equivalent of what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
And he takes it in stride and accepts it and continues to be her friend.
And helps her out anyway.
And he makes a couple of jokes about it later. But and it's obvious that they have, chemistry together.
Yeah.
But that's not anywhere near the focus of the movie.
Well, yeah, like, at that point, we'll get to that scene and, I'll reveal that detail to you.
So, anyway, Experiment 626 lands on the island.
Yeah, Hawaii, which is, they were going about into the ship earlier in the movie, like he won't be able to survive. What's his planet here? Earth or something. It was like, it's almost completely covered in water. I was like, that's perfect.
His molecular density is too high.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to survive in water, and of course he lands on an island, which is so perfect, like Hawaii. You know?
And he pulls one gun at like something in the woods, and then he comes up on a road and sees a frog and pulls a second gun.
Yeah, and
then a truck goes by and he pulls a third gun. He's pulling guns out of hammer space.
It was the rain, I think, because like he heard the rain like hit the ground at one point. He was trying to shoot at the rain.
Yes.
And then like the rain just kept on coming down.
Oh, that was so funny. I'm like, he has so many guns.
Yeah, but then of course he gets run over by 3 16-wheel trucks.
Yeah, but they made a point of saying that he's basically indestructible.
Yeah, and he can lift
he's
things
bulletproof.
Like,
he's fireproof. He's he's can't be broken. He can lift thousands of times his own weight.
Yeah,
he gets run over by a bunch of trucks, which serves to very cleverly get rid of all his clothes and also all his weaponry.
Yeah,
right. And then he gets dropped off at the dog adoption center, right? Because they thought he was dead. They found him like underneath the truck, like up in the wheel well. Meanwhile, Lilo, who is very depressed, and when they see the ship crash as Lilo was going to bed, and she's like, "Get out! I have to make a wish on the star." Yeah. And Nani hears her wishing, "Send me a friend. I just want a friend.
Yeah,
please send me your nicest angel."
Yeah, and then cut to Stitch like,
So Nani, being a good mom, takes Lilo to go adopt a dog.
Yeah, mom says.
Right? Well, she might not actually be her mother, but she's a good mom.
Yeah,
right. Takes Lilo to the adoption center to adopt a dog, and Lilo makes a point of, I want to do it. So she's like, "Can I borrow $2?" So Nani takes the $2 back from the adoption officer, gives it to Lilo, who then hands it back to Nani to hand it back to the adoption center, and then the officer gives the little receipt to Lilo.
Yeah.
And so she goes back to pick out a dog, and all the other dogs in the kennel are like up in the rafters, hiding from Stitch, or from Experiment 626.
Yeah.
Who has scared the crap out of them. And
oh no, there are better dogs than this one. This dog was, it was dead this morning. Dead?
There was like Stitch 626 escapes the center and sees Jumley and what are their names?
Jumba and Pleakley.
Jumba and Pleakley. I'm gonna forget their names a million more times.
You will.
Sees the two aliens trying to capture him,
yeah.
Runs back into the into the adoption center and sees a poster of a kid hugging a dog. Mm-hmm. So he sucks in two of his arms.
Yep.
So he's only got 4 legs, finger quotes.
Yeah.
And then he's the only animal left when Lilo comes back there.
Yeah, he's disguising himself as a dog to, cover for, this society.
Right. So Lilo says hi, and this is when Stitch goes, hi. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you can talk? And he's like,
Hi.
So long story short, they adopt this thing and they name him Stitch.
Yeah.
Right? And so they go back to the thing They go back to their house, and you hear Jumba say, "It's odd. He is programmed for destruction. He will soon be plugging sewers and stealing everyone's left shoe." Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, but that line made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's more destruction if you only steal one of the shoes.
Exactly.
Because you're not going to have the other one. But, like, you know, he made that point to say, it's like, you know, like, he's built for destruction of, like, a city. And, of course, like, he's, you know, at some point, he takes one of the bully girls' tricycles, like, you know, one of the four-wheeler things. Or,
yeah.
You know, something like that. Took Lilo with her and, like, trying to travel around the whole island, try to find something to destroy. And
Lilo's like, "I'm glad we live on the only island without a big city." And he's like, "Oh!"
You know.
But the next scene is we cut to Nani at work. Mm-hmm. And Lilo is there. She works at this tourist trap restaurant that is set up like a luau.
Yeah.
And the guy...
who David... played by Jason Scott Lee.
Okay.
He was in live action. He was Mowgli in the 1994 adaptation of The Jungle Book.
Okay.
He was very recently Bori Khan in the 2020 2020 Mulan.
Okay.
You know, as like the villain character. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a different sort of thing. And he will be. I don't know if it's going to be a voiceover or if he's just going to play this. I'm sure it's going to be a voiceover character. But he's going to be Benny Kamealoha in the upcoming Doogie Kamealoha MD series, which is basically Disney Plus's rebranding of Doogie Howser as Hawaiian instead.
Nice.
Like a Hawaiian girl, so on and so forth. So I'm curious to see that. That's going to be releasing sometime in September.
Oh, yeah, I liked Doogie Howser back in the day, and Neil Patrick Harris is still one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I hope he shows up in like a cameo role.
I hope so. I bet.
You know, but then again, I hope the same thing for the new MacGyver series, and Richard Dean Anderson has yet to show up in that.
Yeah.
But what can I say?
Yeah.
So anyway, this is Stitch causes some chaos. David is a fire eater at this place. Like that's his whole job. He's to entertain the guests, and Nani is a waitress. Stitch causes some chaos and some problems and gets Nani fired.
Yeah, Jumba and Pleakley both disguised themselves because Pleakley was telling Jumba and was like, you know, you look at you, you're a whole alien. You're gonna need to come in and like disguise yourself. You can't be noticed. You can't be seen. You can't.
We can't expose ourselves to the natives.
You know,
this is a wildlife preserve for mosquitoes who are endangered.
Yeah, Which is funny, just in general. Like that's really our worth as a society to be smitten by mosquitoes.
These are the mosquitoes' food source.
Yeah, like mosquitoes are an important species which are endangered. Which that's great. But like, of course, they dressed up as a couple. Which Pleakley, dressed up as the wife character because it's like slimmer than Jumbo the male. But like. Pleakley continues to do this in all the variations of the Lilo and Stitch series, and nobody really like makes a mention of it or makes a pass or nothing along those lines about this cross-dressing person who it's like it's whatever. It's not like it matters. So it's
all right.
Very forward-thinking of them.
Yeah, it's the kind of trans representation that most trans people I know want to see.
Yeah,
they don't want to be the focus of the story. They just want to be a normal part of the story.
Yeah.
Like it's not a special thing. Oh, he's trans? Cool. Okay, move on.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's an alien. So, I mean, as normal as you can be in this story. But, I mean, regardless,
So, they get back to the house, and Lilo and Nani are having a fight. Yeah. And, this is when Lilo busts out, Ohana means family. And family means never, no one gets left behind. Or forgotten.
Yeah.
Right? And that is a big saying in Hawaii, in Hawaiian culture. Like that's not just from this movie. That's like a cultural idiom from the back in the days of when Hawaii was a monarchy. Mm-hmm. Right? So back in the bedroom, Lilo is like, you destroy a lot of things because you're angry, because you don't know your place. I understand that. Maybe try creating something instead of destroying it. So Stitch takes all of her toys and books and stuff and recreates San Francisco, the skyline that he'd seen in a postcard earlier.
And like he's been seeing a lot of movies. You know, he saw like a Godzilla movie on a TV. You know,
well, it was a giant spider, but yeah,
you know, it was a spider. Yeah, that's right.
It was an old style kaiju movie.
Yeah.
And anyway, he destroys the San Francisco, right, that he creates, which was funny. But then the bit right after that, when they get up in the morning, really, really got me. They go into Nani's room, and Nani's like, "Lilo, I didn't know you were awake." And she's like, "Look what Stitch can do." And she opens up the record player, takes one of Stitch's claws, and puts it in the groove on the record as it spins. And then opens Stitch's mouth, and Elvis comes out. It's so funny.
Yeah. This was still the same scene where Lilo tells Stitch the story of the ugly duckling?
Oh yeah, because Stitch was looking through her books.
Yeah, on the DVD copy that I was watching, the well-worn version of the film, it skips the ugly duckling portion, mostly just because my mom uses that story, that part of that film, just to tell the ugly duckling story, because not a lot of kids these days know the story of the ugly duckling.
Yeah,
and like she likes to use that as an illusion, like to teach the the concept of an illusion being used in media.
Yeah, Allusion.
Yeah.
Just for the listeners, The Ugly Duckling is a short story where there is a duck who is ugly, is a baby, and doesn't know who her family is, and gets found by her family, and finds out she isn't a duck, she's a swan.
Yeah.
And she's going to be beautiful when she grows up.
Yeah.
And the whole, like, I found my family is a big theme of this movie.
Yeah.
Right. Found family is big.
There's this little short conversation between Jumbo and Pleakley, talking about, like Jumbo was really wondering about Stitch's mental state, because like he's sentient. He knows that he can think on his own.
Yeah, he's programmed to destroy, but there's nothing to destroy.
There's nothing for him to destroy.
He has no place here and no memories to fall back on. What is he going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, after that, Pleakley gets stung by all of the mosquitoes.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's a mosquito! Yeah.
It's a queen, and it's choosing me as its hive.
As its perch.
As its perch. Oh, another one. Oh, well, they love me!
Flock.
Oh, they love me! He's like completely covered, like head to toe skin. Mosquitoes, like it's
so. And this is when Bubbles shows up and was like, "Look, I heard you lost your job today.
Yeah.
So far you have been coasting by on my patients, but I can't ignore you getting fired.
Right.
You have 3 days to find a job."
Yeah, and he also Bubbles meets Stitch.
Yeah.
And of course,
introduced as the dog.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and like, he understands like, oh, now there's
yet another mouth to feed.
Another thing in this house to like an unagreeable sort of influencer into Lilo's life.
Yeah.
Because everything that he's here for is for Lilo's best interest.
Yeah, which do you want to get into that discussion now or after the plot synopsis?
A little bit more down the line, maybe whenever that line shows up.
Okay.
One that we're both thinking the same line.
Yeah.
So
Nani the next day goes job hunting, but she has to take Lilo with her.
Mm-hmm.
Because she has no one to watch her.
Yeah.
Right? So Lilo and Stitch go along, and while Nani is job hunting, Lilo is trying to teach Stitch how to be good using Elvis Presley as like the model for goodness.
Right.
Only every time Stitch tries something, he winds up inadvertently ruining Nani's job hunt.
Yeah, either the interview or like he
wrecks a store.
Breaks something. He breaks glass by playing the guitar too loud.
Yeah.
Which
he's really good. He can rock that ukulele like it's a guitar.
He can. Yeah.
I wonder if that's supposed to be a callback to his record player ability. Like he can act as an amplifier.
Right. Yeah. That's probably right, actually.
But anyway, the final thing is they're on the beach and Nani's applying to be a lifeguard, and Stitch busts out in full Elvis regalia and rocks the beach. Like everyone is taking pictures and happy and like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Except all the flashbulbs from the pictures kind of drive Stitch a little crazy.
Yeah.
Because he's a war machine.
Right.
So he rips off his clothes and kind of goes a little feral and scares people away.
Yeah.
And so now Bubbles is kind of watching from the background, and Nani sees that he's watching.
I mean, Bubbles has been watching this entire time.
Yeah. Nani sees that he's been watching. I don't know if she noticed him earlier, but he was in the background of a bunch of shots.
Yeah.
And so she kind of drops to her knees and starts crying. And this is when David comes up. And he's like, I don't know why you're sad or upset, but I know that I've got 2 boards and I know the waves are always calming.
Yeah.
So they go surfing. And this is like the first family moment between the 3 of them, right? Where even Jumba is like, he cannot swim. He will die. Why does he risk death?
Yeah.
Because Stitch wants to go on the surfboard.
Yeah,
with him.
why is he going towards danger,
Yeah. But this is where Stitch is learning that, maybe I don't have to destroy everything. This is where Stitch, I think, is coming to see these people as family.
Yeah.
Right?
He's growing.
Yeah, he's growing as a person. But this is when
Jumbo and Pleakley, they
That's
go out
right.
swimming,
because
Pleakley gets this call from the Grand Councilwoman. It was like,
yes.
Where's Stitch by now? I would have assumed you would have gotten him by now. And it was like, oh, we're just, just piling up some things. Just, we'll get there. I was like, well, if you don't have him by tomorrow, you can consider yourself,
Oh no, she straight up says you're fired.
Well, not yet. They're not fired yet. They will get fired very soon.
Oh, okay.
But basically there was like, we're going to be going swimming, and of course, there'd be, while they're surfing and stuff, you can take over the plot.
Yeah. So they try to capture Stitch in the water, and he manages to fight them off by biting through their oxygen tank and sending them like, blasting off Team Rocket style.
Yeah.
Right. And so
yeah, like in this whole kerfuffle, like Stitch is, being dragged down in the water by both of them, by
Right.
Jumba, but like Stitch is grabbing onto Lilo. And then I was like, oh no, Stitch has Lilo, So like David went down there to try to rescue, Lilo from all that. And at this point, by the time that David gets down there to get Lilo,
Jumba and
Pleakley have already been taken care of.
They're gone.
So they don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
It was a clever ruse for them to get all of that situated. Oh, no.
And there's a scene where it was Jumba and Pleakley who dragged Lilo underwater.
Yeah.
By trying to grab Stitch.
Yeah.
But Nani doesn't see that. She says Stitch dragged her down.
Right.
And when she goes down and rescues Lilo, she kicks Stitch.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah, because like Stitch, kicked, both of them off of them first, and then,
yeah. All she sees is Stitch doing the problem.
Yeah.
So they get back up on the shore. And, Lilo has almost died.
Yeah.
Right? And this is when Bubbles comes up and is like, sometimes we have to think about what's best for the child.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means you not being involved.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. This is what I mean when Disney touches on some dark stuff. I don't know how familiar our audience is going to be with Hawaiian culture and history. I'm not super familiar with it. A lot of my information is going to come secondhand from other sources, specifically that Lindsay Ellis video.
Yeah.
But when we forcibly annexed the Hawaiian Islands, there was some amount of re-education, is what it was called. Basically, it was any excuse to take native Hawaiian children away from their native parents and ship them off to white orphanages and white parents to educate the savage out of them, right? Which is what we did to a lot of the First Nations population, in the mainland America as well. It's a horrible injustice, right? And it's terrible. And this is what Bubbles represents, this is happening. Nani is struggling, but she's doing her damnedest to take care of her sister. But the big bad American government is going to step in and take her away because, you're not good enough to take care of her. You're just a native. Like, that's the attitude behind it. And it really touches on some dark subject matter, especially for Native Hawaiians and Native Pacific Islanders. And it's really a dark moment in the film, right? And so they go home that night, and after she finds this out, she's like, Lilo and I have a lot to talk about, David. I'm just going to take her home. Yeah. Takes her home, sits her down in a hammock at their house, and is like, sometimes things change, and there's nothing we can do about the change. And then she sings Aloha Oi to Lilo. And Aloha Oi is a culturally significant song. It is a song that the Queen sang about the people will always remember those who've been taken away, and we will always remember our family and our people, and we will never forget. Right? It's. I don't know if Ohana is a line from Aloha Oi, or if it's just like another part of the same sentiment.
It's just like a concept, basically.
But that's where the concept of Ohana means family, and family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. Right? Because so many families were separated by this colonialism policy. Right? So she sings Aloha Oi to her in the only musical number in the film. Like, Stitch plays the guitar for like 30 seconds at one point, and there's a couple of Elvis songs played in a record player, but this is the only, like, musical number in the film. Yeah. And it's such a heart-wrenching moment if you understand the culture behind it. Even if you don't, it's a sad moment. Yeah. But once you know...
I mean, it's sad in general. Like, the 10-year-old me knows that, they're going to take Lilo away. Yeah. Not knowing all the colonial history behind it, that's still
it's what Lindsay Ellis said in her video essay, is like, the legacy of colonialism is baked into all of pop culture, and there's no way to separate culture from it at this point. And, this entire movie is Disney doing a cultural appropriation. Yes, it's handled somewhat respectfully. Yeah. There was a cut scene from the movie, and I know this part because I saw storyboards from it in a video essay. Okay. Where a couple of American tourists show up, like drive up next to Lilo. And they're like, "Hey, you speak English? Where's the beach?" And then they laugh at her and throw a drink on her and drive away.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, there's storyboards and it was voiced. But it was cut from the film. Yeah. But I think it would have been appropriate to keep in, because that's in Hawaii, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, the native population were looked at as the servants. That's not even that's not a codified thing. That's just kind of a cultural thing.
I don't know. I didn't come across that. The only thing that I noticed about Lilo's relationship to the tourists, like, she takes a lot of pictures of the tourists. Like, she takes a lot of pictures with her camera and puts them on, her wall, basically.
Which is something I'm sure tourists do a lot for them, too. Yeah. Tourists will, "Oh, look, it's a native!" and snap a picture like it's not a person standing there. Right. Right. So this is an appropriation, a reappropriation of that. Yeah. Right. Which I think was really telling. Mm-hmm. It is, like I said, this movie touches on some dark stuff. It doesn't explore it, but it touches on some real dark stuff.
There is this one deleted scene I want to make mention of, just because of that discussion that you brought up. Yeah. At one point, Lilo was trying to trick the tourists into thinking that, like, this one tower, like this one little alarm bell, pretty much is like a sign of some sort of tsunami coming in. Inland, like it's like about 10 miles away or something along those lines, and she was trying to tell Stitch something along those lines, and Jumbo and Pleakley are way in the background, and they overhear it basically, and then it goes off, and like everybody runs away pretty much, like she tricks the tourists and the aliens, and was like, "Does she control the weather?" But of course they cut that for good reason, just because it's unfocused and it doesn't really, put her in a good light. There's a few other cut scenes and or variations that I'll make mention of later as we go through the plot.
I'm honestly surprised they kept in the destroying fake San Francisco part.
Oh, I love that.
Well, I love it too, but this movie came out, just a few months after 9/11.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, that just touched on something else that I'll make a mention of whenever we get to that scene.
All right. So, anyway, where were we in the plot? That's right, Aloha Oi. Yeah. Yeah. So the next morning, they're awake, and David comes running up to the door, completely out of breath, and he's like, "Hey, I found you a job at the market downtown. We got to go right now." Yeah. And so Nani's like, "Lilo, I need you to stay here. I'll be back in a few minutes. Don't call anyone. Don't move. Please." So she leaves. And it's that night we had found out that Jum and Plumley, or whatever their names are.
Jumba, Dr. Jumba, and Pleakley.
Dr. Jumba and Pleakley. Jum and Plumley. Did I get
Jum
that?
Jum and Plum Plum. Let's keep on going. Jum Jum
Anyway,
and Plum Plum.
they've been fired, right?
Yeah.
And Jumba is extremely happy about this because now we can do it my way. And he pulls out a giant ray gun.
Yep.
So they show up at the house. And they're like, start shooting at Stitch, who runs back to Lilo because Stitch leaves.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, no, I'm missing a scene. Stitch leaves during the night. After everything has gone wrong.
Yeah.
Lilo is like, explains what Ohana is, but says, you can leave if you want. I'll never forget you, but you can leave if you want. Yeah. And Stitch leaves thinking that he has caused all this trouble.
Right.
Right?
Which, I mean...
He kind of has.
Yeah, he plays a part in it, but,
he's the catalyst for it, if not the cause.
Yeah.
But anyway, he leaves, and he takes the Ugly Duckling book, and he goes out in the woods, and he opens it to the page where the duckling is saying, I'm lost.
Right. And
he looks up at the sky and he shouts to the rain, I'm lost. Right? And then he just kind of sits there and waits. Yeah. And it's sad. And then Jumba and Pleakley show up. And what are you doing here? I'm waiting for my family. And he's like, you have no family.
Yeah.
And
I made you.
Yeah, I made you. And so he tries to capture Stitch, and Stitch runs back to the house. And he tries to hide behind Lilo.
Which, Nani already went to the interview.
Yeah, this is after Nani left, right? So Lilo is home alone. He tries to hide behind Lilo, and Jumba's like, that's not going to work anymore. And he starts shooting, at both of them.
Yeah.
Right? And so they wind up blowing the house to pieces.
Yeah.
Like, they shoot up the house. Stitch is having an argument with him. He's like, I just want to take you apart and rebuild you taller and less fuzzy. I like the fuzzy.
At some point there's a call. Lilo calls the social worker, Bubbles, because the aliens showed up to the house. No aliens have shown up to the house.
Oh, good, my dog found the chainsaw.
Sean's like, what? What? Excuse me? Oh, never mind. Don't listen to her. Who is this picking up the phone? Bye. Just, hang up the phone.
Everything's fine here. Click.
Yeah.
That was Pleakley was saying that.
Yeah.
So, long story short, the intergalactic minister lady has sent the captain who originally lost Stitch.
Yeah, Captain Gantu, played by Kevin Michael Richardson.
Okay.
He has played Rosie in F is for Family, recent show on, Netflix. It's very popular. He was Jabba the Hutt in the Star Wars Clone Wars 2008 movie. Voiced over, Jabba the Hutt at that point in time. He was also P. Biggie in the Hoodwinked movie.
Okay.
So he was with David Ogen Stiers and something else beforehand. But he was also Goro in Mortal Kombat.
Oh, nice.
He has a great voice. Very, very nice, bassy voice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, this guy shows up. The captain shows up and immediately puts Stitch in, chains. Well, alien equivalent of chains.
Yeah.
Right.
Or those little zip tie things, but frontwise.
Yeah.
For something with 4 arms, basically.
Yeah. And he throws...
Because I think at some point... No,
catches him in a net.
Well, yeah, that too. But at some point, after the house gets blows up, everything else happens. Bubbles comes around and picks up Lilo and
puts her in the car.
Puts her in the back of the car and was like, "Look, sorry, Nani. There's nothing else I can do. This whole entire house is blowing up."
Well, no, he didn't. He's not that gentle because Nani's like, "I'm doing the best I can." He's like, She's like, "I'm the best for her." Do you think this is what's best for her?
Yeah, the house being blown up.
Yeah, and you can hear as Lilo is being in the car, the muffled Nani screaming.
Yeah.
Right, and that hit hard.
Yeah,
but Lilo, Lilo gets out of the car and runs off into the woods with Stitch.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when Stitch and Lilo are both captured by a net shot from a gun.
Well, Stitch kind of reveals himself.
Yeah, as an alien
to be a monster because all this whole time she was thinking it's just a dog. It's just a dog that can talk and it's weird like me. And that's why we go very well together. But there's oh, you're one of them.
Yeah.
Like a sort of betrayal. It's this is all your fault, basically.
Yeah.
And then that's when they both get caught.
Yeah.
Into the net.
And this is the captain who has caught them both in this bag, puts them in a pod on the side of his ship.
Yeah.
And even says, 626, I see I even brought you a snack for the trip.
Yeah.
And he takes off, right? And so Lilo has officially been kidnapped by aliens.
Yeah.
Right? And I did not see this movie going in this direction, but you know what? It was entertaining. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not complaining at all.
Right.
Lilo gets captured. Stitch tries to break them both out, but only succeeds in getting himself out.
Yeah, like he phases through this glass sort of prison thing.
Well, he's like squeezes through the crack between like the seal.
Yeah.
And he falls, and he lands on the ground.
Yeah. And
this is when
Lilo was screaming out this whole time. It's like, "Don't forget me, come save me."
Yeah.
Much, like screaming out to him. Still.
Yeah, and so he lands, and now Stitch runs up to Nani, and is like trying to get her to come with him to say, hey, oh shit, they took Lilo.
Right.
And because at this point, even though Nani has been cruel to Stitch, they both love Lilo, so they're both. He's like, this is my only chance to get after him. This is when Jumba and Pleakley show up, and they try to capture Stitch again, and then Stitch is like, looks right at Nani and says, Ohana, right? And Nani freezes. Yeah. And this is when it comes out.
What did you say?
Yeah, Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind.
Or forgotten.
Yeah, and so this is when it comes out that Lilo's been taken, and in one of the funnier bits in the movie, Jambalaya picks up.
Yeah, Jumba.
Picks up. I'm sorry, you're rolling your eyes. I'm sorry.
That's fine. You're good.
Jumba picks up Stitch and has him like captured, and Stitch is like talks to him in an alien language, and he's like, "After all this, after everything you've put me through, you think I'm just gonna drop everything and help you?" And Stitch goes, "Eh," and he's like, "Okay, you're right." And Pleakley's like, "What? What are you talking about?" He's very persuasive. And Lilo's like, "Are we gonna go after him?" Yeah. And so they go to Jumba and Pleakley's ship. And they get there, and Stitch is super excited to see it. Yeah. He's like, "What, did you think we walked here?"
Now, this is another scene that was peaked slightly, because this was like shortly after 9/11.
Yeah.
Originally, they were hijacking a 747 Boeing.
Ooh.
They hijacked a 747 Boeing.
Was that in the released film?
Well, it wasn't in the theatrical cut or anything. It was cut. It was cut, and it was replaced with that scene. But basically, it was a Boeing 747, and like everything else looks so much the same, except there was this one scene where the ship turns and it's on its side, and it knocks over that guy's ice cream. Yeah. Well, all that takes place in a city. And it's like there's a lot of like images up there. It doesn't quite like go into a tower or anything, because it still has to complete the rest of the
but it's still an airplane flying through a city.
And of course, the guy with the ice cream, which that's a running gag too. Yeah. The guy with it's always like a mint chocolate ice cream. Yeah. This
is the fat tourist that Lilo had taken a picture of earlier. Who's like super sunburned except for where his wife beater was.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's having this ice cream, and it always gets knocked over.
Yeah. Like 4 different times. In the movie,
at least. And at one point, like in the edited scene, it was one of the wings from this Boeing plane, and it's still going to be one of the wings in the alien plane. Whenever they're going through the woods and such.
So anyway, I can see why they cut it.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's now like an aerial battle. Right, so this ship is shooting at and being shot at by the captain, and they're trying to rescue Lilo from the pod, and Stitch manages to get the pod and grab Lilo, and they blow up the ship. At one point, Stitch gets knocked off and falls to the ground, and he steals a truck carrying gasoline. Drives it up to the top of a volcano, drives into the volcano, cuts open the side of the truck, and blows himself back into the air.
Yeah. Abomination, stupid head.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Because Stitch is indestructible.
Yeah. Right?
And I wrote here, drive into a volcano with a truck full of gasoline. Probably nothing bad will happen.
Yeah, probably not. Not to him, at least,
And so he gets back up, and he manages to get Lilo off the ship. And it blows up, the ship explodes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so Nani thinks that Lilo is dead at this point. Right? And I don't remember exactly how they all got back to... How did they survive?
How did they get back on the shore?
Yeah.
Because I know it...
they landed in the water, but how did they get back on the ship with Nani and the scientist and the...
Oh, well, I mean, they at some point, like, you know, the ship blows up, they go into the water, and then, Jumbo and Plickly's ship is landing on top of the water itself. You know, the captain is just sitting on the wing, you know, just like, plums, like, just, huh?
Oh, that's right,
you know,
because
and then
they fly
David,
through the smoke, and then there's Stitch, one hand on the wing, one hand on Lilo, and a third hand holding the captain.
Yeah.
Because he rescued the captain, too. Mm-hmm. Right? Which he didn't have to do.
Yeah, we didn't.
You know, which shows that, you know, you don't have to be destructive.
Yeah, he has humanity.
Well, yeah.
You know, yeah. Yeah, quote unquote.
He has a heart.
Quotation marks. Yes, exactly. But like, yeah, they all landed into the water, and then David is on his board, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And I was like, "Hey, can you take us back to the shore?" I was like, "Yeah, it'll have to take a couple trips though." You know.
So they get back to the shore, and this is when the Galactic Minister Lady lands.
Yes, she has been played by Zoe Caldwell.
Okay.
She is a 4-time Tony Award-winning Australian, thespian aspect.
Okay.
You know, she is well-to-do in theater. She was also the Countess in The Purple Rose of Cairo.
Okay.
By Woody Allen, famous film by him. One of his better ones from what I have heard, which I have not seen. But, you know, she's very well-to-do, and she very much fits this role, and she has still continued to play this character, you know, this Grand Councilwoman in, like, all of the, you know, the sequels.
In the movie, she comes off as kind of bitchy.
You know, a little bit, but, like, you know, like, experience is, like, you know, more cold than, like, menacing, per se, you know. She just has a place in the, you know, Galactic Federation, you know.
So they get to the beach.
Yeah.
And she has landed, and she's got her soldiers, and they've got guns trained on everybody. Mm-hmm. And Bubbles pulls up in his car, and he's there, and he sees the aliens, and he doesn't seem fazed by it.
Yeah.
Right? That we'll get to that in a second. And she, you know, locks Stitch in his little, like, forearm handcuff thingy.
Yeah.
And says, "Take it on my ship." And she's like, 626, you're finally going to get what you deserve. And he's like, "Stitch, my name's Stitch." Mm-hmm. And she's like, "What?" And he goes, "Stitch has to leave?" "Yes." "Can Stitch say goodbye?" "Yes."
Yep. Yeah, so like really seeing the different side that Stitch has developed.
So Stitch goes down and he hugs Lilo. Mm-hmm. And he kind of hugs Nani. And the minister looks at Lilo and Nani and is like, "Who are you?" Mm-hmm. And Stitch goes, and I wrote this whole line down verbatim, "This is my family. I found it all on my own. It's little and broken, but it's still good."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still good. And that just tugs at my heartstrings. Oh my God. And she's like, and the minister lady, you know, is like, she hates to separate them, but galactic law can't be broken. Right? He's been exiled. She has to take him away. And this is when Bubbles is like, kind of whispers to Lilo, "Didn't you get him from the shelter?"
Yeah. Didn't you buy him?
Yeah. And Lilo's like, "Wait, yeah, hey!" Pulls out the receipt.
Yep.
Runs up to the minister lady and says, "I bought him from the shelter. I paid $2, and here is the receipt that says I own him. He's mine." Mm-hmm. Right? And so the minister, now having been given an out, right, says, "Well, I hereby, rather than interfere with Earth culture,
right,
Stitch is banished to live on this planet. And because he lives here now, this planet we're gonna check in from time to time to make sure he's all right."
Yeah.
You know, and this is when turns to Bubbles and is like, "Do I know you?" And he's like, "Roswell, New Mexico, 1973. "You were CIA?" And they're like, "CIA?" He goes, "Former CIA.
Yeah.
So, like, he has a history with the aliens.
Which, I mean, like, way back in the movie, whenever Lilo, first introduced himself to Bubbles, like, he says Mr. Bubbles, and you don't really know his first name is Cobra until she looks at his knuckles on his right hand. It's like, it spells Cobra on there. So, obviously, Cobra Bubbles is, like, his code name, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, have you ever killed anyone before? And I was like, you're getting off subject here.
Yeah, exactly.
You're getting off subject here. Are you happy?
Yeah.
I was like, ooh.
So, as she's leaving, Jumja and Pleakley, did I say it right? Jumba and Pleakley.
Yeah.
I got it right one time.
You got it right a couple of times. I'm actually impressed.
Jambalaya and Plonkanong are... I did that one on purpose.
I know. Keep going.
Jumba and Pleakley are, like, kind of hopeful.
Yeah.
Credit for the capture. I guess I'll be going. And they wind up, she's just like, completely done with their shit. Don't let them get on my ship. Right? So she leaves, and they're now left behind.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, I guess we live here now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're part of the family now.
Yeah, and there's this really cute montage where Bubbles and Lilo and Stitch and Nani and David and Jumba and Pleakley are all rebuilding the house together.
Yeah.
And, like, so they became one big, happy, extended family.
Yeah.
And that's the whole theme of this movie, is that found family can be just as powerful as the family you're born to.
Right.
And I really enjoyed this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I like Disney animation movies. I don't think they've made, or I don't think I've seen a bad one. I'm not going to say they haven't made a bad one, because I haven't seen Home on the Range or Treasure Planet yet. But
what was that one? Song of the South. Well, no, you said animated. Continue.
Well, yeah. Well, Song of the South is partially animated.
Yeah.
But that's like back before the Renaissance. That doesn't count.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, because the Aristocats, Peter Pan and all that.
Yeah. But the whole, like, found family is just as powerful as real family, or if not more so.
Right.
It is a really good message, and it's a message that resonates today when a lot of people are finding family in places that they normally wouldn't have, because their real family has, for whatever reason, disowned them or kicked them out. Right. And I can see why so much of that culture, the Tumblr, generation of kids, really gravitates towards Lilo and Stitch, because it's a good message for them. Yeah. You can find a good family and live a good life, even if the family you're born to isn't that good.
I mean, especially, with that same message, like 626, June 26th was the day that, like, gay marriage was made legal, nationwide. So, like there was a lot of memes posted about, like, Stitch being, like, a symbol of,
I did not put that together.
You
But so, as the first Disney animated movie on our podcast, I would say I'm very glad that you suggested we watch it. Yeah. This was from Keith's list of suggestions.
Yes.
I quite enjoyed this movie. I would say this is in my top 3 Disney movies.
Yeah.
Like, the top 3 right now for me would be Aladdin and Emperor's New Groove and this one. And they kind of vary which one I like better to give it on my mood.
Yep.
And this is the original Aladdin, not the new one, even though I didn't hate the new one.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. All in all, grading on a curve, because it's Disney animation, right? So, like, a Disney animation 5 would be almost any other studio's, like, 7.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's because they have just a quality reputation. I would say the same for, like, Pixar 3D animation.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see that.
Grading on a curve, I'd give this movie a 7 or maybe even an 8.
Yeah, I gave it an 8. Like, I've known this movie for a very long time, and I've watched it a lot, but, like, I have to keep, certain things in consistency, with the film.
And grading on a curve, a high curve, like we said, a Disney 5 is a regular 7.
Yeah.
So we're giving this movie an 8, which would be like a regular 11.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. There are a couple little things that I wanted to mention before we cut out of here. The one other edit that I thought that you were going to mention or make notice of that I'm surprised you didn't.
I didn't notice.
Although it's not super obvious, but in the scene, after Bubbles' first interaction with the family, you know, then there was the whole little chase sequence throughout the house, pretty much. You know, Lilo hides herself somewhere, and Nani throws out this little towel, basically, and hides on top of it and kicks the door. What was that thing that she's hiding in?
It was like a oven, like a pizza box, she held up like the wall of a pizza box, hiding in like an oven or a cabinet or something.
Yeah, it was that originally in the DVD release. In the American DVD release, it was a dryer. She just hid in the dryer. But in the UK edit, and then now in the Disney Plus release edit, basically, it got changed to the cabinet because there are, you know, stories of like children using that as an example to hide in a dryer and like getting stuck in there or something along those lines.
That's pretty dangerous.
You know? And like I can see why, but it's just when you hear about it, it's just so off the wall. And then like the decision to make it like to like a cabinet with like a pizza box as the
holder, now that I think about it, having like an empty cabinet and her holding up a pizza box lid does kind of stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
But I did not notice that. Even you had told me there's one scene where something is obviously an edit and kind of stands out. And I was on the lookout for it. Yeah. And I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it.
Which I'm kind of glad that you came to that conclusion still. Like, it really tells to me that it's not super obvious, but it's really obvious for me just because I know what it is. And like, you know, the thing right next to it kind of looks like a washer, clothes washer right next to it.
Yeah.
You know? Let's see. That's the main thing. Yeah. Yeah, it got nominated for the Best Animated Feature Oscar, but it lost to Spirited Away, which, I mean, deservedly so.
I mean, it's Miyazaki, come on.
Yeah, that's a better film, you know, all around.
Yeah. I would say that the Miyazaki movies are generally better than the Disney movies.
Yeah.
They're not as kid-friendly, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, agreeably. And, like, they definitely have a lot of heavier messages to deal with, but...
Yeah. So, final thoughts. I really enjoyed this movie. Highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it before, fix that.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's in my top 3 Disney movies, and I'd rate this a solid 7.5 on the Disney scale.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, as a film in and of itself, I'd give this a 9 easily. Maybe even a 9.5. But yeah, I thank you for making me watch it. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's not a problem. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
So, This has been the Doop Movie Podcast. My name is Brian.
My name is Keith.
And we will see you guys next time.
Aloha.
Ohana means family. And family means nobody gets left behind.